I recall a couple of years ago, I had made plans with a friend of mine, a dear friend of mine, who happens to be a male, and that is relevant. Because there can sometimes be a whole bunch of stories that we might tell ourselves about certain people or certain groups of people that we experience in our lives. And he had said to me, let's have lunch. You name the time, you name the place, and I will be there. And so, what did I do? I sent him a text message and let him know, let's meet at 366, see you there at 12. Great. So I had done my thing, I had done my duty. I went off to the gym that morning, I did whatever I needed to do, I travelled, shopped, whatever, and on my drive home, my phone went ping, and I got a little message. And I was like, oh, okay. And, okay, I know I'm not meant to look at my phone, but I had this little peek at the preview. Had a little peek at the preview, and that preview said, why don't we go to Crum instead? Thank you. Right? Right? Because he had said to me very explicitly, you name the place, you name the time, and I will be there. So for the next 6-minute drive from the Bay Pavilions home to my house, I mean, you tell me, sisters, what kind of experience did I have? I was rage-filled. Right? All the stories in my head about well, why? Why would he even ask me to name a place and a time if he wasn't even going to just listen to me? And then it wasn't just that. Because in that moment, that chap friend of mine was not getting the wrath of just his experience, but he was getting the wrath of every single man that had ever not listened to me in my entire life. Yeah? I'm the youngest of 5, and I'm the only girl. So I grew up in a very, very patriarchal, misogynistic kind of environment, if I would. And so I had all this rage. I was just full of vitriol in that 6 minutes. And I had created the story of what I was going to say and how I'm going to stand up for myself and the boundaries and the communication, because I'm good at this and I've been training at this my whole life and I'm going to do the thing. And I was well justified. We've all had this, right? Yes, I was well within my right. And I pulled up out of the car, I pulled the handbrake up suddenly, and I picked up my phone. I was like, just going to take a breath, just because I know I'm going to be good at this. I'm going to get on the phone. And then I read the text message. Because I'd only seen the preview. And the text message said, hey Luna, I just called 366 to make sure they were open. They're not today. How about we go to Crum instead?
That's a gorgeous story.
Well. Oh, humility. Pride comes before the fall, hey, my sisters. But we've all done this, right? Who's had this? We're all laughing. We've all had this experience when we haven't we have acted without having all the information. Is that fair to say? We haven't had all the details in place before we have actually taken action. Yeah? And who here has created stories up in your head around things? Yes, no, none of you. I'll just put my hand up first. It was just me, of course. Who here thinks it might be helpful to learn a bit more discernment? How to be a little bit more deliberate with the stories, not only that we are speaking to others, but how we might be speaking to ourselves and in our mind. Who thinks that would be a handy thing for us to do here today? Yeah, and look, that's what I'm here to share. I'm giving you a really real-life experience. There is pen and paper here if there's anything that you want to write down. Belle's got a journal, so does Kerry. If you want to write on your phone, I'm not going to think you're texting. Okay? I won't do a lunch date with my friend assumption that you're ignoring me. So please feel welcome, and I might tell you to write things down and things go on. Because there's things that I want to stick in your mind. I've specialised in the last 15 years, as Jenny was saying, in our thinking, in our mind. And many of you know that I am relatively new to Christ. There's a beautiful quote that I have loved for a very, very long time. And the more that I walk with Christ, the more that I read the Bible, the more that I'm in the Word and get to know Jesus, the more I see the nuances with the work that I've done over the last 15 years, some of the refinement that needs, and also how much confirmation it has been that God has been walking with me the whole time. And glory be to our Father in heaven, because he's been guiding me. Even though I ignored him and rejected him and didn't necessarily know his name, he still chased after me, which is a beautiful thing. So a lot of the work that I have done remains true to this day. And there's a famous psychologist called Jung, Carl Jung. Has anyone heard of that individual? Until the unconscious becomes conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. Let's have a look at that story for a moment. Me in the car and this text message. Was I acting deliberately, do you think? Was I acting from a conscious place?
Yeah.
Yeah, you think I was?
No.
Tell me, so there's a yes and there's a no. Why do we think...
With the information that you had, you determined what you were going to do about it.
Yeah, based on the information that I had.
That was conscious.
Yeah, and Jenny, why do you think it's a no?
I think your reaction came out of being possibly not listened to by men before, or dismissed, or a whole bunch of other things that you really weren't very aware of. And so your go-to was like, I'm going to stand up for myself.
Yes. So we can see that both these things has truth in it, right?
Yeah.
We can see that there's an element of, well, yes, with the information that I had, I was acting accordingly. Truth.
Yeah.
And also, there's an unconscious programming, is what I call it, unconscious way of thinking that led me to that conclusion.
They call buttons, right?
Buttons. I was pushed. I was triggered. Right? That unconscious story that I'm told about men who have let me down, or how I felt unheard, or how that they don't listen to me, or I'm not respected, in that moment got completely awakened inside of me. It ruled my life, and I said, well, that's just how it is.
Yeah.
And so what I've come to learn over my many years of doing this personally for myself, right? Because first and foremost, this whole thing up here for me can sometimes be rough. Is that true for anybody else here? Yeah. We get in loops of negative thinking, we get reactive, we have emotional outbursts that we don't know how to handle. The humanity of being a human can be really, really disturbing. Certainly for myself. And as much as I lean into Jesus and as much as I hang out, I feel like He has imparted upon me a bunch of tools that I can share with the world on how to think more effectively. Not just the words that we share with other people, but the words that you share with yourself in your own mind. I'm going to get to in a moment the amount of thoughts that we have in a day. Too many. It's quite fascinating. But one of my very favourite Bible verses, which is written nearly everywhere, and it's one of the first ones I ever remembered, was Romans 12:2. Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you can test and accept God's will in your life, His pleasing, perfect, and good will. We get told repeatedly in His word. Repeatedly we get told, I'm going to bring verses the whole way through in this conversation that confirm to me that we get told that we need to use this effectively. That we do not conform to the pattern of this world, i.e. I'm mad at the man, therefore I'm going to react, but be transformed by the renewing of this. So this is such an important, powerful that God has given us. Except if we don't know how to use it, it will end up using us. Which is what we see in the world. Not just other people, but when we're really honest, when we are humble, we recognise that our thinking is not often great, right? And we get ourselves into a tiz. Well, I certainly do, right? Get myself into a tiz over a text message, waste 6 minutes of my life into a rage, when the man was actually just being really, really helpful and thoughtful. And maybe what would have happened if I would have arrived there and it was closed, if I was still in reaction, I would have blamed him. Either way, I was like, why didn't he think ahead? Why didn't he check?
Because you picked the place.
Because I picked the place, right?
But it's irrational.
Correct, because we get caught in our own unconscious thinking. Yeah. So we need to be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And
That's hard.
it is hard. I'm going to give you some really how-tos here. This is not just going to be like a yay motivational, this is all the reason why you have to do it, and then I don't give you how. Will it be useful if I give you some how?
Absolutely.
Some hot tips on how to take every thought captive, as he tells us to do as well. Yeah. Did anybody want to fashion a guess how many thoughts we have in a day?
No.
I don't really know how they found this out. It would be something to do with the neural activity, but it's somewhere between 6 and 60 thousand.
Wow.
6,060,000. Right? So studies have shown that 60,000 thoughts is what the average person has
A day.
a day. That works out, and I was doing the calculations just yesterday.
Is that a man or a woman?
Well, they say that
That's a woman.
they reckon that men have about 2,000 words a day, and women have about 10,000.
Oh, that's true.
So if you have a man who speaks a lot in his job, don't expect much from him when he gets home. Because it's unlikely. I've probably skipped a few slides here. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We have so many thoughts. 60,000 thoughts a day. A day. That is a lot. I did the math on this yesterday. Oh man. 2,500 an hour. Which is actually not second, that's typing. 41 per minute. We have 41 thoughts a minute. There's only 60 seconds. Are we exhausted, my sisters? Right? Furthermore to that, so 6,000 of those thoughts are likely to be somewhat unique. Only about 6,000, even less than that. But have a real look at it. Out of those 1,000, 80% of them are negative. And there's reasons why, and I don't have time to go into that kind of stuff here now about our fight or flight responses and how once upon a time we had to run away from dragons, we had to run away from, we weren't at the top of the food chain, so we had to look for problems in order to survive. Now our problems are the coffee shop, the lunch, what people think of me, whether or not I'm doing God's will. We stress about different things now. I don't have time to go into the details of that, but if 80% of them are negative, what I find fascinating is that 95% of those 60,000 words, thoughts a day are repeated from yesterday. Anybody here ever done any looping in their thinking? Yeah, cool. Yeah. So 95% of those have been repeated from yesterday, and the day before, and the month before, and the year before, and the decade before.
That's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And again, not having time here, but most of us have created those thoughts that we are now thinking now between the ages of 0 and 7. So between the ages of 0 and 7, most of your thoughts about the world have already been established. Just like in that moment when the man says his piece to me, I had a thought that was a 7-year-old's thought. I chucked a tantrum. I'm not the only one that chucked tantrum, Brian.
No, not at all.
Yep. Stamp my feet and I want to get angry and I become self-righteous and indignant and I know better. We do it with the Lord.
Yeah.
I want it differently. I want it a different way. Except we don't always know better. And it's likely that we are making reactions and thoughts and options out of our 7-year-old self or younger. Have you ever been in an argument with a spouse? Has anybody here ever had an argument with a spouse? No. Someone that they know really well? Have you ever been in maybe it was your mother, maybe it was your sister or brother, and you've had an argument and you're like, you are 12 right now. Have you ever thought that? Like they're acting, you're like a child. We are. Psychologically, we literally are, because there is a pattern that is formed when we were younger that we have not actually matured out of yet. And so what I teach people to do is how to mature out of the thinking, taking every thought captive, and make it obedient to Christ. That's what we're really, really looking at here. Because 95% of those are repeated. And so what we want to have a look at here is that if these thoughts that we have each and every single day, right? We have thoughts each and every single day, 60,000 of them, they actually become our beliefs. Yeah. Right? Our thoughts become our beliefs, especially when they're compounded with emotion. Yeah. Think about how hard life is, particularly as a child. Right? We have lots of strong emotions coupled with a thought that we have that will form our foundations about what we believe about women, what we believe about men, about money, about marriage, about God. And I don't mean the kind of belief like I believe in Jesus. I think that is faith and that is a beyond the psychological belief. I mean the things we believe about ourselves, about others, about what it means to be X, Y, Z. Those thoughts become beliefs. Our beliefs will inform our actions. So then what we do. We saw that with my story. We saw that with the car and the lunch date. I had a thought, how dare he, because it's based on a belief. And I wanted to take action. Good thing I was driving. I wanted to take some action to be furious at him. But was the thought correct?
No. The belief was not even the one that applied to the moment because he'd never let me down before. He'd never actually done anything to dissuade me. In fact, that particular individual has shown me nothing but respect and love all of my days with him. Yet, I'm playing out a belief and then have an action. That action now informs my habits. So now what I do constantly is what's happening. You are what you repeatedly do. You are what you repeatedly think about. You're literally creating, it's a muscle in your mind. Have you just found the more that they pray, the more that they're in the word, the more that they're familiar with it?
Yeah.
And when you kind of don't, you feel maybe less connected. Is that true for everybody here? Or, yeah. Yeah, the more that you work the muscle, the stronger that it's going to get and the more that you're going to connect to it. And so what I'm here to do is just share with you that our mind is a muscle. Our brain is a muscle. And most of us are pretty out of shape. Just in the world, we just are because we don't actually train it. Fortunately, I think that we are walking with the Lord, so therefore our mind is getting shaped more. We are spending time in circles like this. We are having conversations about the Lord. We're connecting with like-minded individuals. So there's really something to be said about this path. So this is not to take away from it, just to add another flavour to it. Our habits then become our life. We are what we repeatedly do. And that life suddenly leads back into our thoughts. And so now we have a loop. Everything is informing the one thing before it and the one thing after it. So no wonder why I have the kind of reaction that I did with said man. No wonder, because I'm stuck in that loop. So until we go and address, you can address at any point, by the way, you can go, oh, my life isn't getting me the results that I want. Well, what are my habits? Well, what are my actions that are leading me to those habits? Well, what do I believe? And then finally, what am I thinking on a regular basis? Because once you establish what you're thinking on a regular basis, you can intervene, change your beliefs, that'll inform your actions, your habits will become different, your life becomes different, and your thoughts become different. Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah.
Just want everybody to take a breath with that. So go ahead and take one with me. Side out. Maybe just wriggle in your chair a little bit. Yeah, come on, you can wriggle in your chair. Studies have actually shown that it is biochemically impossible for you to remain miserable while your hips are shaking. So if you just wriggle your bottom. What just happened? You're shaking your head. It's very, very difficult. It's the one body part. It's hard to remain sad when you're shaking your bum.
Is that why
When you're dancing, help me.
I love it. Yes, it's why the Latinos are so like, have all the time. It's always this. And the hips. From the fruit of their mouth, a person's stomach is filled. With the harvest of their lips, they are satisfied. The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit. We're not just talking New Testament anymore here. We're talking all the way back. We're talking Proverbs here. 18, 20 to 21 here. The tongue has the power of life and death. We said that as we first walked in, that this tongue that we have can cut deeply. Right? What comes before this thing that's spoken out loud? Souls. And can God hear our thoughts?
Yes.
Yes. Can Satan? Can the enemy?
Yeah.
No.
I've heard that no. I've heard that no. I'm not biblically sound on that one, but thoughts to put out there. The thing is that you are listening all the time. Even if you are not conscious of those 60,000 thoughts, there is a part of you that is listening. You are hearing them. You are repeating things within inside of yourself. If you go around, a little example for you, I'm going to give you some real nice hacks coming up here, is that, on a rainy day, what do we usually call it?
miserable?
Yeah. Is it? It's just wet. But think about that word miserable. What does that incite with inside of you? Yeah. My dad used to say great weather for ducks.
Yes.
And I think that there's some nice reframe in that. Because great weather for ducks or it's miserable, our language creates our reality. Write that down. The language that you're speaking out loud and the language that's in your mind will create your experience. It doesn't mean it's going to stop the rain. It doesn't mean that. But It does mean that you're reframing it rather than, oh gosh, it's so miserable today. You can say, wow, it's wet and chilly out there. You can still talk about the weather, just speak accurately. Okay, I'm going to give you all an exercise. I'm going to give you an exercise. You know, you don't have to stand up or whatever. It's in the mind. All good. It's in the mind. In just a moment, I'm going to. Well, actually, can everybody just say their own name out loud? Everybody do that? Mm-hmm. Beautiful. In just a moment, I'm going to get you to scream it at the top of your lungs inside your head.
Oh, thank God.
Okay.
She doesn't want that. Really.
No, I do not want that. On a count, I'll go 3, 2, 1, and you're all going to scream as loud as you can, your name in your head. 3, 2, 1. Hello. Did everybody have an experience where you just heard a deliberate thought that you put into your mind? Yes. Is that right? Yes?
Yes.
Yeah. So everybody has the power to be able to choose a thought. Now I'm going to speak to you a couple of different ways here. You kind of have the unconscious meandering stream of thoughts. Who here have a thought that they don't agree with, ever? Thank you. Right? Sometimes I'll be surprised because my programming and conditioning, I grew up in Canberra and I grew up in the 80s and 90s and there wasn't a very big diversity of walking people. So I grew up to have a certain level of fear or racism around people of colour, right? Now I don't believe that to be true. I have no biases as an adult. Of course, people are people. I'm going to judge them by their fruit, not by their appearance, you know? When I was younger, I would notice that when I might come across somebody, a person of colour, my immediate thought, my first thought was, they're dangerous. Has anybody had something like this? Has anybody noticed that maybe there's a young person, you're assuming they're stealing, or the man is going to let you down? You know, maybe when we were younger, you thought that people with white or grey hair couldn't drive very well. Now we're in that position going, man. Yeah. You are only responsible for your second thought and your first action. Second thought and first action. Because your first thought can be the world's thought. Your first thought is your programmed thought. Your first thought is just potentially what's just been fed to you over your life. I.e., can't trust you because you have different coloured skin than me. But my second thought is the one that I choose. And my first action is also one that I choose. Am I going to cross the street away from these people simply because of that? Or am I going to engage to get to know them? If I'm reacting from my first thought, it's pretty likely it's going to be unconscious. So what I want to do is take my thought captive, make it obedient to Christ. Is that true? Is that thought true? And then choose my thought, which you've all demonstrated today that you know how to do. You can choose a thought. Go ahead and scream your name in your head again. See? Beautiful. In just a moment, I'm going to get you to, again, think of something. But actually, I want you to not think about it. So just go ahead right now. Can you all just follow my instructions really well in your head? Do you think you can do that?
Try.
Yes? Three of you can do it? Can you all follow instructions?
Yes.
Fabulous. So I want you to go ahead, no matter what you do not think of a blue tree. Do not think of a blue tree. You cannot think of a blue tree. I don't want any of you thinking of a blue tree whatsoever. Stop thinking about blue trees. No blue trees. You're not allowed to. What you thinking?
Blue tree.
Pink cat.
Blue tree.
Some of you had chicken. Some thinking chicken. Pink tree, blue tree, pink tree, blue tree.
Yeah.
What is this? Christmas tree. Was it blue?
3 trees.
3 trees.
There they are. How can you not think of them?
Isn't this interesting?
I looked out the window.
This is a really powerful mind hack that I want you all to take away here. The mind doesn't process the negative. You have to first not think of the blue tree. You have to first think of the blue tree in order to think of something else. How many times have you said to a child or a spouse or a loved one, don't forget to bring the washing in? If we don't hear that negative, what have you just told them to do?
Forget it.
So this is my first little mind hack here. You want to speak it how you want it. What do you want them to do? And you want them to, if not forgetting, is what?
Remember.
So start to speak the way that you want it. Rather than don't forget to bring the washing in, say please remember to bring the washing in. I can't say whether or not they're going to bring the washing in. But they are more likely, you are more likely to remember. Someone will say, oh, don't forget to pick up that thing on the way home. I will say, I will correct it and say, I will remember. Because now I'm teaching my mind, I'm training my muscles of my mind to remember. I'm 20 minutes later, I'm like, oh, what was that thing I had to remember? I don't know, but I'm more likely to simply because of the fact that I've said remember. So don't is a huge one. Don't is the first one that I want to share with you. Don't think of a blue tree, you are going to think of a blue tree. So start to language your world as you want it. Right? Don't run in the house. We walk in this house. Please walk in this house. Yeah? There's lots of habits that we'll all have that you'll think, oh man, in the next 2 days you'll do it lots. You will do it lots, I assure you. I'm going to stay there for a second. I'm going to stay here for a second. How long over time, by the way?
Yes, you've still got 11 minutes till 10 minutes.
Fabulous. We've got 11 minutes until 10 minutes. Ah, okay. Well, it's a tea then.
Or you can go flexible and adaptable.
I'll just play. I can speak for days. So I always say people just give me a time limit.
Yeah, you've got 20 minutes.
So then I know where I'm at. So don't is the first one that I want everybody to start considering. Who would like me, who's got a don't that they often say, that they think that right now that they would like me to reframe for them? Because they might be stubborn. It's okay if there isn't any.
A toddler, you know, when they go to do something and you don't want them to do it.
Yeah.
Well, my daughter has said, Mum, don't tell him no. Say, oh, we do it like this.
Yes.
Or a similar thing like you're suggesting.
Yeah. Yes. And you know what? I'm having a moment of like, oh gosh, they're 3. I had to wait. Just tell them no. Tell them don't. Like, it feels that like, that's hard. It's a hard thing to do. But as followers of Christ, we are not called for an easy path, my sisters, are we?
Yeah.
You know, yes, his burden is, light and do it for me. His yoke is light and his burden is easy. Yes, but we are called to hold ourselves at higher standards, right? So yes, with our kid, you could say, and you would find yourself saying, oh no, don't run across the road.
Yes.
Please walk. Come stand by me. Stop what you're doing. Because stop is still a strong word. You're still giving the directive of what you want it to be.
Don't stay up too late.
Don't stay up too late.
Yeah.
Cool. Whole other conversation. I love this. I love this. Remember that we agreed that you would be in bed by 10 o'clock. Or something along those lines of like, I would love it if you would go to bed before 10. What I'm also doing there, what you hear there, is I'm really specific. Because don't stay up too late. Well, what's too late? Anybody could like, well, it was late, but it wasn't too late. Then there's room for negotiation. So you could say something on the lines of please go to bed. Please make sure you're in bed by insert time, 11. Because then you're being far more directive. Oh, no, Mum, I won't stay up too late. That's not what I said, honey. What I said was make sure you're in bed by 11.
Yes, that's a more positive. Very good.
And specific. Because we can be really vague with our language, and these are these hacks that I'm giving you here. We can be really unclear. And I say this with complete love, especially as women.
Yeah.
We are more inference, like we infer. We are indirect with our communication. How many people here have ever had a conversation with a man where you have been very, very, very clear with what you need and they have not understood it? They go, I didn't pick up on you. Like, I was dropping hints all afternoon. It's not because he's dumb. It's because men speak directly and women speak indirectly, typically, right? So the more direct that we can be, and I'm not saying that we all need to be harsh and and firm, but just clear is kind. Write that down. This comes from Brené Brown. Clear is kind. The clearer we can be in our communication, the kinder we are actually being. Trish.
I was just going to say, I think the current and more recent generations are better at this.
Yeah, I think so too.
The way your daughter was saying, to speak to the son, and the way I hear younger parents or younger people now, in how they do this stuff, and it's so different how I was brought up or I did it. So then you had the angst of exactly what you said, because they didn't do what you asked them to.
Culturally,
when I was growing up.
100%.
A long time ago.
Yeah, but we haven't been taught this. We have never been deliberate in our thinking, and it goes to show me how privileged we are now, because in previous generations we haven't afforded to learn this kind of stuff because we needed to survive. When you just have the space to learn how to think. For many of you, this is probably the first time in your lives where on a Wednesday morning you don't have to be at work. Do you know what I mean? So then you can now afford to be at a workshop learning about this kind of stuff. And now it's in workplaces and people are learning it. Not yet in schools, but I'm working on it. There's, you know, like, the shift of that is that we are now so safe and so well that we have space to be able to learn about our mind and our hearts. When you're in survival, you're just worried about putting food on the table. Yeah. So we can forgive ourselves or forgive the world for not necessarily always having all of that, because now is the time that we're learning it. The second one that I want to share with you here is, have you all got pens in your hands, don't you? Mostly? Okay. So go ahead and you just want to put this hand underneath here. And I want everybody, this is a pen, because I don't have one. I want everybody to go ahead and try to drop their pen.
Drop it where, on our hand?
Yeah. No, I said try. No, I said try. Go ahead and try. Show me you trying. Yes. No, you dropped it. You're holding on to it.
Oh.
You're holding on to it. Try. No, I said. I know. You're all like, what?
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
And yet we do it all the time.
Yeah.
Do or do not. There is no try. We can't try to drop the pen. We are either dropping the pen or we are not.
Yeah, true.
That's true, yes.
And I'm going to give you a real life example of this.
Say, like you let your yes be yes and your no be no.
So yes be yes and a no be no. And if it's a maybe, because there are times where, well, I don't know how to sing that song. I have to try. I don't know how to do that yet. I have to try. But go ahead, Patricia, for a second. Can you just invite me to a party?
Lunaria, I would love you to come to the creative evening on Saturday. We're having a great party. All sorts of creative souls at the olive tree.
Right.
You'll be very welcome. It starts at 6 o'clock.
Okay, thank you.
Food will be provided.
Wow.
And it's free.
Okay. Wow. Thank you. I'll try to make it.
That's
Am I coming?
No.
Some of you say I'm coming. Do you think I'm coming?
No.
Maybe.
And it's maybe.
If nothing better comes up.
Am I leaning towards no?
Yes.
With the try.
Yes.
To say the word try, we're presupposing failure. Try suggests we're not going to. Try suggests that it's not going to happen. I'm going to give you another language piece here because I'm not going to leave you without that word because we need something. Go ahead and invite me again.
Right, well, from your last I'd like to invite you to a very good party on Saturday night here at the Olive Tree.
Great.
There'll be all sorts of creativity taking place and it would suit you down to the ground.
That's great, thank you so much. I've got some competing priorities and if the things work out, I will come. I'm not in a position to be able to make any commitments right now.
Okay.
Can I let you know on Saturday?
That's absolutely wonderful, thank you.
What do you now know?
I think you're coming.
That's a
So
problem.
you are
It's okay.
interested.
If I can.
It's more positive.
Yeah.
And it's actually more truthful.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've given context. I've got a lot of competing priorities. I will often say to my friends, they're like, you want to catch up on the weekend? And I'll go, I'm cooked at the moment. I've been given a lot. I don't know if I'll have the energy on Saturday. So I don't want to commit to you and then let you down.
Yeah, that's
Right? Rather than I'll try, I'm just going to be honest.
Yes.
And again, as Christian women, we are called to be honest. We're called to speak with kindness. We don't have to lie. Not that I think saying trying is lying. We kind of could do, that works. But we can be more deliberate with our language because when we say try, oh, well, I really hope you can come. How often, let's be honest, have we said that we'll try when we have no intention?
yeah.
Right? Because we don't want to let the other person down. We don't want to disappoint them. We can be honest. Hey, I can see, Pat, I can see this is really important to you. I've got a lot on this weekend and I really don't think I'm going to be able to make it. Is there any way that I can support you in the meantime?
Yes, you could actually.
I need the tacos done, I need a cookbook, and then you can say, oh, do you see what I'm doing here?
Yeah.
And there's a much, what it actually does is those micro moments where we say try, where we don't actually be clear in our communication, we're damaging trust. We don't know that we're doing it, but there's little micro moments.
That's so
How many of us are like, oh, we must catch up? How often do we say that when we don't really intend to? Lately, and I know it's challenging, but I would just say to people, like, if you bump into them, like, how's it going, all that kind of stuff. And or as uncomfortable as I am, I'll say, you have yourself a great day. And then walk away down the other aisle. Rather than, oh, we'll have to catch up soon. If I don't mean it, don't say it. And this is about integrity. Again, as Christian people, we're here as emissaries, as examples of Jesus. And so we must be true to our tongue.
Wow, very good.
Let's say what we mean and mean what we say. This is integrity. And what that actually does, sometimes we're afraid that we're going to hurt people or disappoint them, right? We're allowed to be disappointed in life. Right? It's okay for people to be uncomfortable. Do it with kindness. If you can, you practice with skill. And say, thank you so much for your invitation. I'm not going to make it. Huge blessings to you on that.
I'd much prefer that than all the froth and bubble and being confused and not knowing what they're really
Who would prefer that?
Save my energy, I can move on, I can do something that's more fruitful.
Just tell me no.
Yeah.
Make no a more comfortable thing. I know for when we don't do no well. Get used to receiving no's as well. Right? When someone invites you, if you've invited someone there and they say no, I will often say, please do let me know if it's no. I can handle it. I'm okay. So I will create environments with people around me so that they feel safe to say no to me, because I want you to say no to me. Because when you say no to me, I trust your yes.
Yeah. And it's not necessarily a rejection, it's a boundary on you that you just can't do 5 things in that.
I'm not able to do that. I just want you to hear that again. When you say no, I trust your yes more, right? When I say no, people will trust your yes more, because I'm never going to give more than what I want to give, or that I'm going to give, that I'm willing to give freely and happily.
It's a very valuable lesson to teach children,
Isn't it?
when they ask and all, speak to you if you're consistent.
Yeah, because then I can trust your yes. My mum will often people please me, which means I can't trust when she says yes that it's not hurting her.
Yeah.
I can't know. And I tell her all the time, tell me no, because you're dissolving trust, and we're dissolving trust with ourselves when we are not holding our own self-hate to account.
And if you say yes when you mean no, you are resentful and you're really not helpful in doing something you don't want to do. When they said no, then come and impact my experience.
And then we're living in integrity, we're living more like Jesus. Jesus would often take himself away and say no. He did it. He modeled this for us. He gave a big sermon, he gave lots of energy, and he was like, see you guys, I'm out. And off he goes to the mountain, he would recharge his cup. Where are you? Where are you? I'll be back. I've got to do some stuff. Right? He did not model people-pleasing and overgiving. And we are his disciples, and we are to walk in his footsteps. We take our lessons from him. Yeah? So don't try. I'm going to give a little example here of this next one. And so I want you to put yourself in the shoes. I'm not going to do it to anyone specifically because you'll see why in a minute. Just put yourself in this position for a moment. And you're sitting here, and I will say, just the name that we don't have here. I'm going to say Olive. Yeah? This is Olive. Right? Olive, I really like your t-shirt, but I don't think you should wear those shoes with it. Great t-shirt. If you're Olive, how do you feel right now?
Mixed up.
She doesn't like my shoes.
Mixed up, down the bottom. What else?
She doesn't like my shoes.
She doesn't like my shoes. Cool. I'm going to do it differently. Turn on your listening ears and see what we've got here. Olive, I really like your t-shirt, and I think you could pair different shoes with it. Great t-shirt. How now do you feel about being Olive? Better?
Yeah. Still don't like my shoes.
Still don't like shoes. That's true.
Could have just not said anything about the shoes.
It's not your place to tell me that you don't like my shoes.
Yep.
I like them.
Just say it was the place to talk about the shoes. Just say it was, like it's a professional environment and there was feedback that was required.
Okay.
Just say that's the
Oh,
case.
well, that's okay. If you had to talk about
If I had to talk about the shoes because I'm talking about your outfit today, because that's appropriate. How are you now feeling in the second example?
Say that again. Say that example again, please.
Olive, great t-shirt, and I would like to see you pair those with different shoes. Excellent t-shirt.
They're not meeting the requirements of the what they're expected to wear. So that just prompts her to think about other shoes she could wear.
Same.
Mind your own business.
Same.
Well, get you thinking about the shoes.
No, it's a
perhaps.
workplace. so
Yeah.
they probably
If it's a
do.
workplace,
Yeah,
no,
if the feedback was appropriate, let me give you another example. Olive, you've been doing so fantastic here at work lately. So I'm now in a workplace. Olive, you've been doing so fantastic at work lately, but we want to see you speak up in meetings more. Keep up the great work.
You negate the positive.
Thank you.
With the but.
With the but,
Yeah.
everything that comes before the word but gets deleted.
Yes.
Can you say that one again, please?
Everything that comes before
No, the example.
the example. Olive, you're doing so great at work. We really appreciate you, but we want to see you step up in meetings more.
Okay.
Overall, great job.
I missed the first bit.
So,
And you did miss the first piece because the but was put there.
Yeah.
And what he's really saying is the second bit, not the first bit. They're saying
Well, they
the first
remember
bit's
this.
try
That's
and
exactly
ease
right.
the blow.
That's how we take it. That's what the mind is doing. We delete anything that comes before the word but. And the second example, one of it, Olive, you've been doing so great at work lately, and we would love to see you speak more in meetings. Overall, great job.
Yeah,
It's called a sandwich. Good, bad, good.
Good, bad, good. Yes, correct. What you'll notice here, the language hack that I want you to change here is from the word but to the word and. And it's included, right? All of you doing a great job, and this is your area of improvement.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
So the but is negative, the and is.
The but will just delete anything beforehand. I'll give you an example where I use this powerfully. Walking the path of Christ is going to be challenging. You will come up against people who will defy you. You will come up with people who will, go out against you. You will be persecuted. But the love that you will experience from our Lord and Saviour Jesus Christ is nothing like you could ever imagine.
Amen.
I used the but purposely there. I could have done the other way around. The love of Jesus Christ that you experience is the most incredible thing you're ever going to come across. He's your Lord and Saviour, but you will be persecuted.
That's what you're going to hear.
See, I've said the same thing. If you switch them up the way that you want it to, I want to leave the feeling with you, the one that I want you to leave after the but. Yeah? So if I want you to feel good and great about Jesus Christ, I will use him after the but so that I very craftily delete, in some ways, the persecution. It's still there, we still know it's appreciated, but you will remember the love of Christ more than you will remember the persecution.
So you say the good thing at the end.
Yes. If you ever want somebody to feel a certain way, say the good thing at the end, if you want to use the word but. Because, ladies, it's so great to be here in Soul Sisters, but now it's time for us to wrap up, right? Or depending on how you experience it. I'm not going to infer that. Ladies, it's time for us to wrap up, but isn't it great to be here together as Soul Sisters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, now you feel buoyant about the thing. So you don't have to delete the but always. It doesn't mean that you don't use but. Just use it deliberately. And there's one more that I want to. We don't have too long, and so I'm going to keep it nice and short and sweet. It is one of the most common things that we do in our language every single day, and it starts with the letter S.
Should.
Oh, sorry, that's a good one. Should. How many times do you be like, oh, I really should read my Bible. I really should go for a walk. I really should clean the kitchen. I really should eat better. We end up shoulding all over ourselves.
That's a good one.
Right?
Mispronounced
So
that.
I was very careful. I was like, I'm in the house of the Lord. Ease up. Yeah, correct. So we end up shooting all over ourselves, and what that actually does internally for us is create disconnect. And we're not actually being truthful. We're not actually saying it how we actually think it to be. We are speaking in inference. So someone give me a should that you've noticed.
I beg your pardon?
Someone give me an example of should.
I should try and be on time.
I should try and be on time.
Oh, yes.
Let's unpack what is really being said with that. Because the truth of that sentence, I should really be on time, the truth, and I'm just going to go with this for a second. The truth is, I often find myself not being on time and I feel guilty for it.
Yeah.
Doesn't that hit a little differently?
Yeah.
What's changed in that when I was accurate with the language?
It's how you're feeling.
rather than the judgment of should. It's honest. And we cannot create change in our life if we're not first being honest and aware with where the issue actually is. I should read my Bible more, right? The truth there could be, and there's many different versions of this, I know that reading the Bible will lead me closer to God, and the world is pulling me and tempting me into other distractions right now. That's a lot less comfortable, right?
Yeah.
But it is the truth. And so then we can lay that down at the feet of our Lord and say, Lord, the world is tempting me right now. I want to draw nearer to you, but I'm being tempted. Can you please draw me strength and keep my mind so that I may be able to connect with you? Should numbs the discomfort of what we're actually facing. Don't try, but should. These are the 4 hacks that I want you to walk away with today. While we begin to wrap up here, the first thing I want you to remember here is I want you to doubt your doubts. In Isaiah 55, 8-9, for my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, declares the Lord. As the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than yours, and my thoughts than your thoughts. Thoughts, once again, his thoughts are higher than your thoughts, so we have to doubt our doubts. Those voices, that shame, guilt, pain, the voices that you have inside of your head are not God's. Make them obedient to Christ. You hear that self-doubt? Doubt that doubt. Because if you've got that self-doubt, it has not come from our Lord. Because his ways and his thoughts are higher than yours. Yeah. We trust in the Lord with all of our heart and we lean not on our own. In all our ways we submit to him, and he will make our path straight. Yeah? So the first thing we want to do is doubt your doubts. The thing here is to be aware that I'm not one to have toxic positivity. I don't believe in it. I don't believe that everything's amazing all the time when it's not. I want to be honest, I want to be real. Many people walk into their garden of life, it's overgrown, and they catastrophize. Oh, what am I going to do? The garden's overgrown, this is hopeless, everything's going to be the worst thing in the world. Or they romanticize. Oh no, there are no weeds. Every plant is welcome in my garden. This is how God wants it to be, and if it's overgrown, then I'm just going to let it go. There are no weeds. No, everything's just equal. Yeah.
Is that to be truthful?
We've got catastrophizing, we've got romanticizing. Neither of those are true. Let's realize, let's be real, let's be true. There is a garden. It is overgrown, and I am blessed with tools. And maybe I don't have hands, but maybe I have people. Maybe I have resources. Maybe I can access things to be able to help me through this difficult time. Maybe I'm walking with the Lord, so therefore he can help me. Yes? So that garden is you in your life. That garden is us approaching troubles in our life and catastrophizing it. Romanticizing? No, it's fine. Let's get real once again. Let's be honest with the situation. There's a garden, it's overgrown, and I think this sucks. Can we just be honest with how we're feeling about it? And I'm feeling hopeless and helpless right now about the garden, and I know that I have resources, or I can access resources to be able to help me solve this problem.
That's good.
Let's be realistic about our language, not pessimistic or optimistic, not toxic positivity or catastrophizing. No romance or catastrophizing. Let's get really real. And the last thing that I want to share with you here today is just say you were walking into a warehouse and you had a torch and the only thing that you could see is a whole pile of garbage. What do you presume is in the rest of the warehouse? A whole pile of garbage. That's exactly right. That is exactly what you would presume. Except what happens when we turn the light on in the warehouse? I don't have time to go into it today, but we literally, our mind has, what Belle reminded me of this week actually, the reticular activating system. You don't need to know what that means. It's called RAS, R-A-S, and your brain will literally look for more things that you have told it to look for. I'm going to give you an example. Who here has ever bought a brand new car and thought that they were the only one with it? Or a new top? Or they were trying to get pregnant or something like that?
Yeah.
Kerry, like how many people when you broke your leg had broken legs?
Yeah, lots.
Everywhere. Were there suddenly people with broken legs? They weren't. You noticed it.
Yeah.
For us.
Exactly. There are millions of bits of information coming to us at any given moment. Our brain can't possibly know what to take in and what is important. The way that it does that, it deletes information, it distorts information, it generalizes information. So what you focus on is what you get to the exclusion of all else. Again, he tells us to pray. He tells us to give thanks. He tells us to get in the Word daily. Why? Yes, to connect closer to God, but also because he understands how he made our brain. If we are walking with the Lord, if we are in gratitude, if we are sharing and connecting and speaking his Word, we feel more of it. It quite literally connects us in, it quite literally draws us in from a neurological perspective. What you focus on is what you get. So I encourage each and every single one of you to take your every thought captive. Make it obedient to Christ by observing them, by noticing these, don't try but shoulds, right? Those words. By being more deliberate with your language. Not only the language that you speak out loud, but the language that you speak inside of your head.
And to yourself.
Because you're speaking it to yourself and you're also speaking it to God. And it's okay, you don't have to sit there and get it right because we want. We're human, after all. It's not about getting every thought perfect. It's not about being perfectly perfect. It's about recognizing that we are human and building some muscles. And even when you're in shape, even when you've got to a place where you have built quite a lot of physical muscle, if you stop doing it, what happens? You have to maintain it. If you don't use it, you lose it, and you cannot stay clean off yesterday's shower. That's a good one. We have to do it daily, and so the thinking and our thought processes is something that we must do daily, and that is, the word tells us, on our armour of God every day. And this is, so I thank you. I think that is my time. I'm willing to take questions here. I think I've got a little thank yous. Oh yeah, these are just I'm going to skip through to the final page there. If anyone wants to just take it. Thoughts aren't fact. I haven't mentioned that today, but they're not. I want you to doubt your doubts. Don't, should, but try. That is those 4 words that we played with. I want you to doubt your doubts, choose your focus, and recognise your grateful garden. The garden that you have to be able to flourish. You can say, I have a garden that's overgrown, but how blessed am I that there's enough water and sunshine in this town for it to be overgrown, right? This is called a reframe. So I thank you, my soul sisters. Thank you for having me here. If, for anybody, I do coaching, I do one-on-one, I speak, as you have so been able to see. So if there's anything, I've got a couple of books here, if anybody's curious, they are available as well. So thanks for having me. I'm here to take questions. I think we've still got some time. That's the end of my formal talkie. But thank you for having me here, sisters. I appreciate it.
What if you continuously doubt yourself, and no matter how much you try, and think positive about yourself in general, but your brain keeps saying, no, that's not right. You are, hypothetically, we're just hypothetically, you are that terrible person that you are. How do you get out of that mind?
I love it because I missed something out of my presentation and you just reminded me of it. Because we can be clear with our language like I did with Patricia in the invitation. There's another word that I would encourage you to use instead of the word try. And this is practice.
Yeah, that's great.
So, I'm not trying to drop the phone case, I'm practicing. Right? I'm practicing because we can know, I don't know how to do this yet, I'm practicing it. And so you used the word try just now. You said, what happens if you doubt yourself all the time and you're trying to not? What does try mean? Well, in the context without practice, what does trying actually do when we say it?
Presupposes failure.
It presupposes failure. So my invitation to you, I don't know your name by the way. Amanda.
Yeah.
Lovely, thanks Amanda. That my invitation to you is to start to practice. Stop trying. We have to stop trying because trying presupposes that we're not doing it. We already feel like a failure. I've been trying everything. How do we feel in that space? Are we open? Are we invited? Are we feeling powerful when we say I'm trying or I've tried everything? No. Yet, when we say practice, go ahead. So everybody go ahead and say, I'm trying to stop negative thinking.
I'm trying to stop negative thinking.
Just notice how you're feeling about that and the possibility of that. How does it feel?
Hard.
Horrible, yep. Cool. Now go ahead and do this. There's a reason for it. Just go ahead and do this in front of your eyes for a second. Beautiful. And now say, I'm practicing a different way to think.
I'm practicing a different way of thinking.
How does that feel?
Promising.
Promising.
Yeah.
Our language creates our reality. The way that we, both are true, right? I want to see that. Both of those examples have truth in them. But one is closed and holds me captive. The other one is open and I'm making it submit to Christ. Yeah? So when you hear that thought, or someone hears that thought, that I'm worthless and I'm not, sit there and go, okay, well, first I'm going to doubt my doubt. Right? And go, oh, that's right, Luna told me I'm going to practice thinking differently. How could I think about this differently? The more space that you have between you and your thoughts, by the way, the better. If you can create some distance between thought and me, is really helpful. That's going to sound a bit weird because we think that we are our mind often. We get so involved in the storyline of our mind that instead of being the one watching the movie, right, that's being played out on the screen, we're the character. But think about it. Do we live beyond this flesh? Do we?
Yes.
Yes. Will we go on?
Yes.
So are we our minds? We're beyond that. So we want to kind of step into the observer mode. The more that you can observe your thoughts, the more that you can notice them. I'm noticing that there's a thought that I'm worthless. What would God say about that?
Exactly, that's my thinking.
But notice this. I'm noticing a thought rather than I am thinking. When he was in the Old Testament, what did he say that he was? It's 2 words. I am. These are powerful words, my sisters. I am are such powerful words that God describes himself that way. So be really careful when whatever you put after your own I am is making a statement. So you can say, I am observing feelings of worthlessness. I'm observing anger. I'm witnessing, I'm paying attention to, I can see. Be careful what you put next to I am, because now you're identifying with that experience when you are actually a child of God.
We need to be in the Word to know what He says about us. Because I was doing exactly what Amanda was doing for a long time. And as I grew stronger and read God's Word and learned about God, okay, these are the thoughts that I had and this is what I thought people thought of me. But what does God say? I am a child of God. I'm an heir. I'm a co-heir to the throne. I'm a princess. I wear the royal, So that's how I changed my thinking. Oh, I'm short, I'm not as tall as that one. Oh, I'm too fat, I'm not skinny as that one. And you go through your whole life and you think, oh, I don't like myself.
I am fearfully and wonderfully made.
Yeah. That's it.
And so we need to, there's a counter. This is what a lot of people do in toxic positivity is try to ignore the thought. And try to push it away. Has that ever worked? No. So I'm really interested in what works, right? And because I live it and I breathe this, hated myself for a very long time, had a very poor relationship with myself, and I work daily on this. So, and for my clients, what actually works? Me ignoring the thoughts or pushing them away, catastrophizing or romanticizing, doesn't work. What does work is observing, I've been in a pattern of negative thinking. I'm observing that my mind has been really restless lately. I've noticed how heavy the emotions are in my body right now. Notice what I'm doing here, there's distance. I am noticing that. I'm observing this experience. Cool. From that position, when I'm in a position of observing, now I can make those thoughts obedient to Christ. And honestly, Amanda, it's one at a time.
And it's practice.
Practice.
You're acknowledging it. You're not saying that
Not
it
ignoring
isn't
it.
so.
Thanks, Trish. Yes, please.
It's really good.
You need to acknowledge and validate your
That's
experience. The thought is there. I'm noticing that negativity. I'm noticing the negativity. I'm noticing that it's there. And I am X, Y, Z, and I can choose another thought, because that's your first thought. What's my second thought?
I've read something really good about that this week, that we frame our thoughts like a picture frame and we hang it on the wall and we keep looking at it and we go over it and over it. And so what I read was that we should throw out that picture frame and put a new picture frame on the wall to look at with the positive words in it.
Right.
It was very helpful to have it so
clear. And it's interesting you say that too, Margaret, because the language that I would use around that is to reframe. I'm reframing this experience, literally. I'm cutting off the old frame and I'm putting on a new one. Right? So I'm literally reframing. Nothing that I have shared with you today has been dishonest. Because your mind knows better, doesn't it? Thanks, Anthea. That we know better. Our mind knows better. You can't lie to yourself. Good luck. That, affirmations I hear a lot of people use, and if it works for you, rock on. I have never found that me standing in front of the mirror telling myself how beautiful I am. But I believe it. But I can say I'm noticing feelings of inadequacy. I'm noticing that I don't love myself the way that God made me. And now I'm going to pray and submit those thoughts to the Father and see what He has to say about it.
And that works. Or since I come to this church, I have found that I don't feel as pathetic. Do you know what I mean? This church has made these beautiful ladies who are sitting here make me feel so special. Uplifting, that's right, that's the word, uplifting me from all that negativity that I have lived for 47 years. Wow. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not gonna go in a day, but these ladies, I look at each one of them and I thank God. Every morning I wake up, I thank God for this church, I thank God for these beautiful ladies, I thank God for living.
Thank you for transforming my mind, Lord. Thank you for making these thoughts of unworthiness that the enemy or the world or my conditioning has so convinced me of. He's a liar. The world is a liar. Your thoughts are lying too. I said just a couple of screens back. Thoughts aren't fact. We've got to stop believing them. Any other questions?
I'm getting it.
Thank you for sharing.
Then what did we do this for?
Ah, yes, cool. What do we do this for? That was the question.
Wipe the slate clean.
We wipe the slate clean. Yeah. So
That's something in our brain.
Yeah. It might be like, someone smell toast?
No.
I just switched your brain from a different part. Right, it's called a pattern. Yes. It's called a pattern interrupt. So we get stuck in this loop, this cycle of the thing and the thing that I'm thinking, and we are broken record in our mind. And my job is to interrupt that pattern so you can no longer, I want to scratch the record.
So doing this interrupts the pattern.
Well, it actually wouldn't have mattered what I told you to do.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm like, clap 3 times, do this, and then jump up and down twice. People are like, okay, why am I doing this? While you're distracted, right? And I say this with love, and I do this with intention. You're not thinking about the old thing I didn't want you to think about. Right? So I've gotten you away from the old thing that you're thinking about by, it might sound distraction, but I'm interrupting the pattern. I'm clearing the slate from the old thing that you were doing. I mean, it's the same as wriggle your bottom. Right? Everyone just go through that. It's fine. Wriggle your bottom, come on. I'm so bad at Anything else? Yeah, how are we going for time? I think, well, I've done officially, but anything else? Anybody else wants to share?
It can feel overwhelming when there's like 60,000 thoughts a day.
Yeah.
But if you're on repeat 95% of the time, then does that mean you only need to catch every, even 2 thoughts a day?
It's a great question. So the question was there, like 60,000 thoughts can feel like a lot to have to do every day. But 95% of them on repeat. I'm not going to do the maths on that, it's not my strong point. Talky is my strong point, not mathy. But that could be said that maybe there's only 100 thoughts a day. Now that might not, maybe that seems like heaps, but if you just caught 1 an hour, right? Considering there's 2,500 an hour, 1 hour is pretty good. And that's going to then reprogram and reframe every single other thought that comes after that. So eventually what ends up happening over time and with training your mind, that 60,000, my 60,000 used to be 80% negative. And now there'll be random times our clients even come to me, they'll be like, I was just walking down the street yesterday and I was like, oh, I'm worthy. I was like, yeah. But they surprised them because their own thinking, they heard the voice of truth within inside of them rather than the voice of the lie that keeps getting repeated. The more that you repeat it, like we said with the cycle there, the thought becomes the belief, becomes your action, becomes your habit, becomes your life on repeat with the thought. So the more that you do it, the better that you get at it.
I think it's a good reason to start the day with the Lord, turning your thoughts deliberately to Him and in His Word. And I find from experience when I do that, my thoughts are better during the day. I find if I start thinking negatively, I think, oh, I haven't read the Word for a few days. I know exactly what it is. You know. And I thought, if you can do that, like if you can start the day with the Lord, that's already changed a couple of those 60,000 thoughts. You haven't given over to those other 60,000, you've deliberately given God some thoughts.
Yeah. Because I have that Brandon Lake song, Grateful. It's just always the first song I put on in the car.
Yeah.
And it does actually change in the way that you think. It just...
It changes the atmosphere that you...
But it's actually the muscle that you were talking about that actually changes, because I think I've always had a bit of a predisposition to negativity.
Same.
Now I've just found over a period of time, it doesn't happen instantly. But if I don't do it, if I don't have some sort of gratefulness thought, they're the days that, like Margaret said, that you go down like, so, you know, that combination God gratefulness. Like we read the Bible every day, but I don't necessarily, I read sometimes that just as a story more than I hear God talking. Well, we're in Proverbs now, so that's different. But a lot of the Old Testament, I've been reading it as a story, and it's been quite interesting because a lot of the time I don't hear it, see it as God talking to me, so then I need something else connection.
And I think that, like, be careful of what we consume. We all know that what we eat and what we drink will impact our body and the way that it functions. But we're not as careful with what we consume online, what we're listening to. And maybe in this room we're more mindful of that because we're aware of our spiritual body. But, you know, typically in the world we're not as conscious about that. What am I listening to? What am I feeding my soul on a regular basis? So for me, even if I am reading books in the Old Testament, I'm like, how many have I got? Like, you know, there's a little bit of like, whew, this is hard work. 15 minutes. Right, like some more Deuteronomy, like, whew, like, wow. But, you know, but I'm feeding my mind, irrelevant of whether or not I always feel it. Because there are many times where I go to the gym and I don't want to and it sucks and I can't be bothered and I'm like, that wasn't a very good workout, but I do that on repeat for years and I'm fit and strong. Irrelevant if it feels good at the time, you're still in it, you're still doing it. So what you're feeding yourself, what you're feeding your soul and your mind is really going to impact it. So curate your social media, curate the people you spend time with. They say that you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, and I believe that that's not just physically. I think that's in a digital world, who we're consuming online, podcasts we're listening to.
Yes.
It just occurred to me just now in this moment that if we become the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with, let's make the first 3, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, become more and more like Jesus every day, huh?
I think it troubles me a little bit that sometimes we enjoy our negative thoughts and we want to stay there. And we want to keep them on repeat and we want to keep thinking of them. Because it gives us something. Our own nature feeds our own nature. And we totally want to enjoy it.
That's where you've got to call on the Spirit straight away. Deliberately call on Holy Spirit to change you.
I know I had a situation this week that I had to address by text. And the old man in me wanted to say a lot different to what I actually said in the text. And I wrote it down. I wrote down what I really would like to say. And then I wrote down what I knew I should say and how I should address it. And immediately it was changed. I was sharing with Margaret yesterday. And the reason I could do that is you quoted it just now. I am a child of God. I don't address it in that way, but I want to.
Of course we want to. Because misery loves company, right? Don't we have that? We have that quote for a reason in the world. And I love that you said this, like, thank you for speaking to something. How many of us kind of just like to wallow in our...
Yes.
I do, because it's addictive, it's tempting. It's really tempting to be in that, well, it's poor me, victim, correct, because it's a concept called secondary gain. We will continue to participate in behaviour that is not helpful for us because there's a secondary gain, a reason why we do it. Because perhaps maybe there is, you know, it feeds our dopamine inside of us. I like to feel righteously angry. Maybe I like the feeling of when people gather around me and feel sorry for me. Or, you know what, my biggest one, and I'll share this with you, I really like not having to be so responsible.
Yeah.
Right? Like, particularly knowing what I know and then walking with God, I'm like, it feels like every moment, every day, I have to be taking every thought captive all the time, and I'm Jesus' emissary, and I have to show up, and sometimes I just want to be a human chucking a tantrum. So I think that let's speak to that. Again, there's the honesty of it. And go, well, right now, my 8-year-old self, I chucked a massive tantrum on Saturday morning in my own bed, just chucking a tantrum, and I knew, and I was crying, and I knew it was happening. I'm like, look at me go. Right? My 7-year-old was in charge. She took over and she had a day of it. But if I respond in the same way that my parents did, if I react in the same way that my parents did when I was 7, I'm going to still play that out. I have a Heavenly Father now, and also I get to be the one that, it's reparenting, it's part of what I will teach, that we reparent ourselves in those moments. You did that, Pat. You became the leader in that moment. You let her speak. You let your little tantrum self, like I did. Chuck a tantrum, and I cried. I'm like, let it out, honey. Tell me what's going on. And she wept and she wailed, and I was like, it's all a bit much right now, isn't it, hon? And she was like, yes, this is just me talking to me on the bed. I'm like, yeah, it is, and it sucks. And I'm like, I know. Because what would my parents have said to me? Well, for a start, I probably didn't even feel safe enough to say anything to them. You know, you're on the long line of a whole bunch of kids. Who's got the time for you anyway? So I never felt like I could express or be like that. And even if I did, well, chin up, bootstraps, off you go. So I gave to my own little 7-year-old what my parents never gave to me. Not because they didn't love me, not because they weren't doing their best, but because we cannot teach what we do not know. They didn't know how to deal with their own tantrums, let alone mine. So in those beautiful moments, we'll just be really honest that life sucks sometimes and it's really heavy and we don't want to do it and it's uncomfortable and we just wish that we could be our bratty selves. Acknowledge the bratty self and let her speak. You did perfectly. Let it out, write it down, burn it or whatever, rip it up, let it all out, and then it's your second thought and your first action that counts, not that first thought of the reaction. Otherwise, my dear friend for lunch would have copped a mouthful from me. He probably still would have gone for lunch with me. He'd be like, well, I don't understand what happened.
That's very good.